Hi, this is Karen McNall. Welcome back to my channel. I'm with inspiredbygraham.com. Sorry I've been a little MIA lately. Just recently had Achilles surgery, so I've been on the mend for a couple weeks. So I'm back at it with my first video since. So hopefully it won't be too rusty, but I wanted to get back into the groove, and I saw a card that was designed by Jackie Bullheis from ClompandStampers.com. And I'll have her information in the description box below. But she made this great fun fold card. Not exactly how I have it, but I did change it up to what I had for supplies. But it's really, really fun using the Share What You Love Designer Series paper. And it opens up like this. And I just thought it was super cute. I did a little redesign on the fun fold piece, and then just added a cute little embellishment on the back side with a retired punch. But I'm going to show you how to create this card today using the supplies that I had. So we'll set this aside and we'll get started here. So we will need our card base, which is just one piece of panel. Basically, it's a piece of Tranquil Tide. It's got 5.5 by 4.5, 5.5 by 4.25, so the base. And then we have a piece of Whisper White, which is cut 3 by 11, and I've already scored it 5.5, and that'll go right on here. And then I've got a piece of the Share What You Love Designer or Specialty Designer Series paper, which is really, really fun paper. It's thicker than our normal Designer Series paper, and you can purchase this now in one of the suites available. It's a pre-release from Stampin' Up. This piece is cut 3 by 5.5, so that just matches right on the top of that Whisper White panel. I also have a couple strips too, 1/4 inch by 5.5, and another strip of Tranquil Tide, which is 1 inch by 5.5, which will create that banner. So let's get started. You're going to use your Tombow glue. I would suggest that you also have silicone mat or something to protect your work surface, because we use the Tombow glue a lot. We are also going to be using the pre-release stamp set. It's full of a photopolymer stamp set, Love What You Do, and we'll be using a few stamps from this collection here. So let's stamp first our inside panel. So let me show you, actually to show you the inside panel, which I stamped here. We're going to be using a little different colors because I wanted to try something a little different than the Peekaboo Peach. So we'll be using Pool Party. So we are working with the photopolymer stamps, so we will need our piercing mat and a piece of scrap paper. So we'll just open this up and we'll bring our Pool Party into the picture. And we're going to be using the watercolor, kind of call this the watercolor splash. And we're going to ink this up, and then we're going to stamp off because I think it's just a little too dark. And then we're going to stamp on just the bottom corner of that Whisper White panel. So it looks like this. Just a subtle inking of the Pool Party. Now we're going to take our Tranquil Tide, and we will ink up that detailed outline flower. Mine is more than gently used. I've been using this a lot. And we're just going to stamp that flower down here on top of that. So now what we're going to do, I thought that looked, you could leave that alone, giving it a soft texture if you wish, but I'm going to add a little bit of Rich Razzleberry to those flowers just to give it a little pop. So let's find that little stamp. So I'm just going to show you this stamp. There's a little groove on this stamp right here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not on camera, but it does line up with the flower. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to do the middle flower here, full strength. Again, I'm working on my piercing mat. And now I'm going to stamp off and then stamp on this one just to give it a little bit of difference. And now this one I'm going to stamp off twice, and then I'll move my ink pad. I'm going to stamp on this lower one just to give it even a little bit lighter effect. So you can see in this that I've got full strength and then stamp off and then 2 stamp off. So you've got 3 different shadings of your flowers. So that's what that kind of looks like. Just gave it a little bit of interest. So we're done with the Rich Razzleberry. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take our designer series paper. I'm going to close up this other ink pad here. And we're going to be using, like I said, we're going to be using our Tombow glue. So we're going to add the Tombow glue on the back side. You do not need a lot because this is really super sticky glue. That's why I use a silicone mat. And this is the exact same size as the front of the Whisper White, so it just gets lined up on all 4 sides. And using the Tombow glue is great because you can just put that in place very easily. If you want to give it a good press, use your bone folder, or you could use a clean block as well. And it opens up just like this. Alright, so now we're going to add our Tombow glue to the back side of the Whisper White. Again, you don't need a lot. I just noticed it's starting to pour outside and my cat's outside. Oh well, she'll find a place to hide for 5 minutes. So now we are going to just put this on that Tranquil Tide base, and we're just going to line it up top and bottom, left and right. And I don't have my grid paper here, so I'm doing this by sight. And I've got it a little bit too low, so with that Tombow glue, you can just move it up just a little bit. See, it's not set, and you can fix that. That's why I like the Tombow glue so much. Okay, doesn't that look really nice, that pool party? I like that. All right, so now we're going to take these little strips. I love how she used these little strips. I would have never thought of this. So I'm just going to add the Tombow glue here. Like I said, you don't need a lot. And what she did was awesome. Just adding this little bit of strip here jazzes up that card base so much. Don't you think? I mean, that would have been plain, but she just added that strip. What a brilliant idea. So now let's just add the other strip. And this is just the back side of that DSP used for the front. All right, so now we're going to add this piece. I got a little glue on that Tranquil Tide, but we can get rid of that later. And I'm just going to give it a good press. Now, if you find that your designer series paper is just cut a little bit too long, you can just take your paper snips and just trim that off. So it's just bugging me a little bit, so I'm just going to take that off. Such a pretty card. Okay, so I'm going to let that Tombow glue dry here. I've got one of those retired erasers that Stampin' Up! Used to carry, so I'll fix that a little bit later. So that so far is what we've got. Wasn't that gorgeous? I love it. All right, so now we're going to create that focal point. Let me bring that in. And like I said, I'm going to change this one up, but I'm using a doily, I'm using a punch, I'm using a layering circle and another punch and a doily. So let's get started making that one. So what we'll need is, let's get our banner. This is going to create the banner. This is 1 inch by 5.5, and we'll bring in our triple banner punch, and we're just going to slide this in until it doesn't go any further, and then just give it a nice press, and we've got our perfect banner here. And we'll throw that other piece away, or you can keep it for whatever you need. And now we're going to add this to our card. So again, I'm trying a different color. I don't know if I'll like it, but it's not worth trying, right? So I'm looking, I don't want this over the edge because then it won't fit in our envelope. So I'm just going to put it in right about there, and I'm going to give it a bend so I know where I'm going to need to use the bone folder. So now I'm going to get this straight, bring in my hey, how do you like my bone folder? I got them specially made up. So I just love those. Become one of my downlines and I'll send you that right away. All right, so that creates our little fold and that's going to get put on right here. So let's get that on and we'll just use our Tombow glue again. And like I said, you don't need a lot. And we're just going to put this right in the center and press it down. And what I'm just going to flip this over here. All right, so we're going to let that dry. Doesn't take too long to dry, but we'll just I'll give it a little rest. All right, so now we're going to bring in my doilies. Now I have just a bunch of doilies that I've got in my stash. You could use the pearlized doilies that come in the Share What You Love bundles, but I just grabbed these. I just wanted to give it a different kind of look because we've all been using those pearlized doilies, but I wanted to get rid of some that I had in my stash. I think these came from like an occasions catalog or a holiday catalog or something, but I still have them, so I got to use them. So we're going to be using the doily, and now we're going to be using our punch. This is a new punch for me. It's called the Everyday Label Punch, and we will be punching out, let's see, we're going to be using Rich Razzleberry scrap, and I'm just going to punch out one of these. Right, so then that's going to go on here, and now I've already die cut with my big shot in the layering circles 2 pieces from Tranquil Tide, right? And now one's going to go on the back side of that doily, and then the other one's going to go on there. So we'll just put these aside for right now. We're going to do some more stamping. So let's bring in a piece of Whisper White. I'm going to need my Stampin' Pierce mat and my scrap paper. And I'm going to use the pool party theme again. But on this one, I'm going to stamp off twice and then stamp on my Whisper White. I just want just a hint of that pool party. So once, twice, and 3 times. Okay, so can you see the difference here? I just want something subtle. So now what I'm going to do is bring in some Tranquil Tide ink. And I'm going to use the sentiment, Love What You Do. And we'll just ink that in, up again, Tranquil Tide. All right, that looks great. I'm going to bring in my 1 1/4 inch circle punch, and I'm going to punch this out. Because I'm going to add leaves to this, but I don't know where I want them yet. So that's why I want to punch it out now. All right, so we've got our circle. See that subtle hint of pool party? It just breaks it up a little bit. So now I'm going to bring in that leaf from the set, and I think I'm going to go not full strength. I'm just going to do a subtle leaf there, and then I'm going to ink up again, stamp off, and just bring it, wrap it kind of around there. And then one more at the top, because I like to work in odd numbers, and just get that little spray going across the top. I think that looks pretty cute, so we'll go with that. Now I think we've got all our stamping done. For now, we can just layer up everything. So again, we're going to bring in my silicone mat, so I want my work surface to stay clean. Okay. All right, and now we're going to just bring in our regular adhesive. Oops. And we're just going to add this to my pre-cut, die-cut layering circle. Okay, press from the back. And now I'm going to kind of do this in reverse because I want to show you this doily. This punch everyday label lines up perfectly with this doily. And what I mean by that is that this little half circle lines up with that part of the doily and on the other side as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add adhesive to the back side here, looking at this left one so I know I've got it, and then press down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 dimensionals to the back side of this stamped image, and I can find my dimensionals. Here they are. And these are the regular size dimensionals. There's 2 different kinds that Stampin' Up! Carries on my online store, the mini dimensionals and the regular ones. So we're just going to use the regular ones. And those backings get thrown out. And I'm just going to put this right in the middle here and just give it a good press. All right, so now we're going to add this piece here to the front of the card. Ooh, I really like that. Okay, now this is where you're going to have to be careful, because you only want to add a little bit of Tombow glue. You don't want to put it all over, because then it's going to go onto your designer series paper. So you just want to add a little bit here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this differently. I'm just going to add the Tombow glue where I want it to be, because that's going to be enough to secure that doily in place. So now I'm just going to place this on, and what I'm looking at is the top and the 2 here. And I'm making sure that this is in the center of that banner and that this point is pointing straight up. And I'm just going to give it a nice press. And now what I'm going to do is open this up. Now, I didn't like how this is, so what I did was I did cut a second circle, and I'm just going to put this on the back side. So again, I'm just going to add my Tombow glue, and I'm just going to cover this up, and it just gets rid of all that adhesive. So that's that. So now when I flip this over, tone on tone doesn't look too bad, but if you do something different with a different color banner, it didn't look, I thought it needed a little something. So I have this retired punch, the itty bitty flower punch, which I'll never let go because it makes great embellishments. Let me show you. I've got this little box. I bought something from Oriental Trading, and it's a perfect little box to carry your little flowers. So I use every piece of cardstock, and I use my punch, and I just make embellishments. So let's bring in our piercing mat one more time. Let me get my card out of the way. I don't want to destroy it here. And our piercing tool, and I'm just going to press this in the middle to give it a little bit of dimension. Okay, it would work better if I didn't use the scrap paper. Oh boy. Okay, so now we're going to just take a glue dot, and somewhere there on my desk, here they are. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my piercing tool, add a glue dot to the back side. I'm going to flip, whoops, wrong card. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to put that little flower right there. I think that's so stinking cute. So now if you want to add a little special, you can take one of our pearlized or the burnt pearls here and add a little embellishment there. So isn't that sweet? So that's your card today. Now what I would normally do also, and since I'm going to show you anyway, I'm going to take the Tranquil Tide, and I'm going to add my address stamp and my Stampin' Up! Copyright logo to the back side of this card. So it's ready to go. And I'm just going to stamp this down. Personalized stamp I had made with my name of my business, my name and my address, and our Stampin' Up! Copyright logo. So it's all ready to be sold. So I hope you love this card as much as I do. Let me clear up my area here so you can kind of see it. A lot of supplies I used. I love punches, so there's my card we created today. Here's the one I showed you. And let me bring in one other one that I did earlier. I did this one with a Rich Razzleberry tag, and I just didn't know, I thought that the everyday label punch here kind of blended too much, so I wanted to try it with a different color scheme. I think my favorite is this one, but you can let me know what you think. See, this one is just stamped off once. This is stamped off twice, so I just think your sentiment pops a little bit more on that. So I hope you learned something new today. I thank Jackie for getting me back into the groove from ClompandStampers.com. You made an amazing card, which I'm going to have as one of my June classes. So for all your stamping inspiration and supplies you need to create this card, I hope you visit my website at inspiredbygraham.com. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you.